Yo, that guy's really bad.
Yeah, Jesus Christ.
Hello everyone, my name is Paul, and welcome back to another video. I would like to say thank you to all the supporters of the last video. That was my first video in like a month, and I was really happy to see the amount of views and the amount of likes that I would get. So, thank you all for that. I will be uploading a second anniversary video when that happens, which when I record this is actually like tonight. So, yeah. I did another video that was supposed to be about an influencer's music, one of my favorite YouTubers on the entire platform and a huge inspiration of mine, but I'll talk about him in another date, and I'll probably scrap the video as that's not really my field. But instead, let's talk about something I'm good at, video games. Specifically a game that I've been spamming for the month I was absent. Let's talk about Valorant. Recently, the closed beta for Valorant has ended, and the game will be fully released on June 2nd, only a few days away. With that in mind, I wanted to give you guys my personal thoughts on the beta as a whole. I'll first go over what is Valorant for those who may not know or not have the biggest understanding of the game, and then I'll go over what I loved and hated about the game. Right now, Valorant is one of my personal favorite games to play, and I will hopefully be making more videos on it as time goes on. But for the game to progress, we as a community should address what we like and dislike about it, so come join me as I discuss my impressions on Valorant's closed beta. Valorant is an up-and-coming free-to-play first-person tactical shooter, developed and published by one of the most well-known developers in gaming history, Riot Games, aka the developers of my favorite game of all time, League of Legends. The game takes heavy influence from fellow tactical shooter Counter-Strike Global Offensive, in mainly its core gameplay. It's a 5v5 team versus team game. One team plays offense and the other plays defense. The attacking team must plant the spike, which is essentially a bomb, while the defensive team must prevent the spike from going off. Both teams must supply themselves with weapons that they buy throughout the game with the credits that they earn. The main difference between both the two games is the fact that Valorant takes influence from other popular games such as Overwatch or League itself, and allows you to pick characters with their own abilities and quirks. These characters will have smoke grenades, flash grenades, and even healing, which means it's essential to pick the right characters for the right team comp. What also differs from CS is the number of rounds you need to win each game, which is around 13. With the core mechanics of the game out of the way, let's get into what I personally loved and appreciated about the game itself. I have many good things to say about Valorant, and I was really happy with how the game felt while I was playing. For one thing, I absolutely love the character dynamic and selection style the game goes for. My favorite types of games are games where you pick from character selections and you have to build a team based off of that. That's why I'm in the games like Smite and League, like the whole MOBA genre. That's also why I'm in the games like Rainbow and Overwatch, and even why I'm in the Dead by Daylight as well. Every character, even ones that are considered the worst, have a role to play in the team. If you play as characters like Phoenix or Jett, you play as an entry fragger, mainly used as one of the first people to be in the fight and get some frags for your team. If you play characters like Cypher or Sova, you mainly gain information for you and your team to use. And if you play characters like Brimstone or Omen, you smoke off areas and coordinate with your team to play around those smokes. And I absolutely love this style. It makes it seem like you have an important role to play in the team, and if you do your job correctly, it feels extremely satisfying. It's potentially what got me into Valorant the most, this style of gameplay. I absolutely love it. Another decision that I really did like that this game made, at least in difference to CS, is the fact that they shortened the rounds to around 13. Not only does it make the game a lot faster in my opinion than CS, but it also eliminates the ability to tie a game, and instead introduces the new mechanic known as sudden death. Sudden death is like the final round of the game. Whoever wins that round wins the game entirely. I hated the ties in CS, so this is definitely a personal change I love. Something I also really did like about the game was the balance in both characters and guns. Yes, some characters are better than other characters. In a game like this, and in all games like this, that's going to be inevitable. But for the balancing of the game, even characters that are considered the worst play their role. They have a reason to be in the team. When I see someone pick Jett, I'm not like, disgusted that they picked Jet. I am thinking about strategies that I can formulate with the character, and I'm not disappointed in the person's choice, as Jet does have some things that does make her a valuable asset. And I love that about the character balance. Almost any character is usable on a team, and each one has a specific role and a specific purpose. No character is completely useless. I also really did like the gun balancing of the game. Yes, it's still recommended you buy stuff like ARs or an AWP, but if you're low on cash, it doesn't mean you're at a complete disadvantage. You could buy a cheaper weapon, and you could stand a chance against some of the assault rifle players, and potentially kill them and take their assault rifle. I love that style of gameplay. That's something I didn't really like with CS, because in CS you'd have a wide selection of weapons, but you'd really only use around 5. Look at the SMG category as an example. Really, the only guns I would use in that category are like the UMP and the MP7 or MP5. In this game, I use basically any of the SMGs. Well, either of the two, because they both serve their purpose, and they both have a reason to be used. Either being economy, or just the fact that they're actually just a good primary in itself. Hell, even some of the pistols like the Ghost and the Sheriff I use against assault rifle players when I need to save up on some money, just because the guns are that viable. I love the gun balancing in this game. It doesn't make it so I have to buy specific weapons, or I'm permanently stuck to these weapons to stand a chance for the entire game. While yes, it's still recommended you buy stuff like the Vandal or the Phantom, as ARs are still going to run dominant in this game, it's not impossible to win a game without having to buy those guns. You don't have to buy specific weapons, unlike CS, which I do like. I still have a lot of stuff that I do love about the game, but these were the main points I wanted to bring out, as I feel that these are the most important ones and the things I did love the most about the game. Now let's get into some of the stuff that I didn't like. I don't have too many bad things to say about Valorant, but the things I will say are still noticeable, and lasted with the beta until it eventually closed down. So I feel these are some of the biggest problems the game currently has, and I hope that these get fixed by the time the game comes out. One of the biggest problems the game has going for it, and I'm pretty sure most people in the community and my friends do agree with me on this, is the map selection. The maps aren't bad, each one has its own strats and like smoke positions. You also have specific callouts. Each map isn't bad, so to say, they're playable, but compare them to the competition. Compare that to CS, where they have maps like Dust 2, Cache, Mirage, Nuke, Cobblestone, Inferno. All these maps are memorable and have their own place in CS's history. Meanwhile, look at Valorant, and I didn't even know a single name of any of the maps until the final week of the game. None of the maps are that memorable, and not only that, they're not as fun to play on like CS's maps. The one thing that mainly differentiates each map is that each one has its own gimmick. For Bind, it was the teleports that you could have around the map. For Split, it was that really intricate mid and the ropes that you could climb up on. And for Haven, it was the fact that it was a map that had 3 different bomb sites. Yes, these do make the maps different in playstyle and strategies, but that doesn't make them fun. The maps aren't that memorable. They weren't as interesting as the CS maps. And I feel that this is the point that Valorant isn't as good as at CS at the moment. The map selection just isn't that good. And to be blunt, the maps are just really dull. There's nothing really too special to them. And again, they just don't feel as fun to play on as they do in CS. Maybe this will change as the game goes on. Maybe they might make stuff with the maps that makes them a little bit interesting and more fun to play on. And who knows, maybe the new Venice map that will come out when the game officially launches will actually change the community's mind on maps. Maybe we might get an enjoyable map like we did in CS. But for now, these maps just did not really feel that interesting to play on. They were definitely, in my opinion, the lowest point of the game. Next up for stuff I didn't like is the ranked mode's progression and rewards, or lack thereof. I'm not a competitive person, and most of the games that I play, I rarely play the ranked modes. It's just I'm not really into that style of gameplay. I don't really try too hard in my games. I just like playing video games for fun, so I rarely grind out competitive as it is. But when I do, I really like the rewarding feeling of ranked modes itself. Not only do I love climbing up my personal rank, but I also like seeing my progression on the leaderboard, my stats, my overall performance, and how I've been improving on in the game. That is one of the main things I really like about ranked modes. It literally makes me feel like I'm progressing and getting better at the game. But Valorant players don't get to experience that luster. Yes, you do get to climb ranks, and you can reach the highest rank, but after you reach the highest rank, what happens after that? There's no leaderboards, no rewards, and no sense of achievement. All you can really say is, hey guys, I'm the highest rank in the game, while you're still playing against people who were in lower ranks than you before you reached the highest rank. There's no sense of achievement. There's no sense of progress. There's nothing that happens after you reach the highest rank. And that just seems extremely disappointing, especially when this comes from a company like Riot that made legitimately one of the most competitive games of all time. I know it's a closed beta, however, so I have high hopes that the game will eventually add stuff for progressing in the higher ranks and improving at the game. Lastly, I want to point out the bugs that happened in the game, specifically FPS drops and lag spikes. This was a major issue with the beta that literally occurred throughout the entire lifespan of the game, even to its closing. A lot of players have been saying that if the game launches in the state that it was in at the closed beta with the FPS drops and random lag spikes and audio glitches, then the game is going to be extremely damaged when it actually releases. People are not going to enjoy the game as much as they should be when the game officially launches if they have these issues, and potentially with all the stuff they're adding, it could create more issues. For me, I do have hope still. I hated these glitches because I've witnessed them firsthand, and I saw other people get absolutely ruined by them in their games. These issues suck, but I have hope that Riot can fix these issues by the time the full game comes out. I mean, we're going to have a downtime where we're working on stuff and adding stuff to the game, so hopefully they found some ways to fix some of these issues before the game officially launches. I understand why people have their worries in this state, but I still have my hopes up. I have a feeling Riot is going to be able to iron out these issues before the game officially launches. But this is still a problem that needs to be addressed before the game comes out, because if these problems do still consist inside the game, then these issues need to be fixed, and fixed very fast. Otherwise, the game will definitely be in a negative spot that it doesn't deserve, as this game has an insane amount of potential. But I do like the dev team. The dev team has definitely been interacting with the community and updating us often, so I have my hopes that the game will launch in a pretty decent state. I really like this closed beta, like a month without uploading type of love. This game was extremely fun to play and learn, and has a great deal of potential to be the next breakout game. I mean, it's already broken records, so that's a good start. But those were just my impressions of the game. What do you think about the game? The game launches on June 2nd, so expect me to make more content as well as potentially start streaming when that date officially arrives. I will go back to my original content after this, and I hope you guys did enjoy the video and tune into the next one. It most likely will be a summoning video on the new Vegito banner. So, yeah, thank you all for watching.